Hey everybody, it's Karen Bentley here with the Recovery Superpower channel, where we revolutionize the recovery process, and we do it by extracting the hidden energy that's in every unwanted behavior, every dependency, and claiming that energy for ourselves and accumulating personal power. That's what we're about here, power baby, and you're going to get lots of it. Today I'm going to be exploring the connection between this substance, sugar, and binge eating and recovery from binge eating. But before we do that, I'd like to remind you that I'm the author of this super book, The Power to Stop. It's a 30-day program for ending any dependency. You can get it at Amazon or any bookstore, and the link is in the description. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about binge eating, and this is something I know a lot about because I am a former binge eater. I had horrible problems with binge eating. I think I started binge eating when I was a girl, maybe 10, maybe 11, maybe 12. I don't remember, but certainly when I was a young teenager, I was already well on my way to binge eating. And, it was an exasperating problem because I could be a diet saint, and I tried many, many things to stop myself from binge eating, and I couldn't get a handle on it. And finally, this is what I looked like when I ballooned up to 204 pounds. Well, at least I stopped weighing myself when I hit 204. And here's another one. There's not too many pictures of me because I destroyed them. Here's another one. Me at maybe 200, 204, 210, who knows. Anyways, I stopped weighing myself when I hit 204, and I was really at a wit's end. And I remember cruising into a very, very large OA meeting in the Boston area. And I was just really taken with the message about sugar being the culprit in the diet for binge eaters. And it just resonated with me, and it made sense to me. And it was the only thing I hadn't tried, so I was open-minded. I was ready to try something new. The 12-step program, I have a lot of respect for it. I believe it has worked and helped for many people. It wasn't my path. It just didn't feel right for me. So I did it on my own. And just by getting rid of caloric sweeteners, sugar, and other sweetening agents that act like sugar, by getting rid of sugar and becoming carb smart, I lost 70 pounds. So now I weigh 135. And I was happily on that path for, 2 or 3 years or so. And I thought, I'm so disciplined now. I've got this under control. I'm not really a binge eater after all. And I started eating desserts, and then I started eating candy bars, and then I, just started pigging out again. And before I knew it, I was back up over 200 pounds once again, and I had to do it all over again. So I lost 70 pounds twice. And now I could care less about sugar. I'm not tempted by it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to have this problem. There's other things in life to work on, and this isn't one of them for me. But that's my story. I certainly have a history with it. I would never have referred to myself personally as a food addict. I would always say just a binge eater. I have a unwholesome dependency on food. So what are the causes of binge eating? There's so many theories. You can pick the one that sounds right to you. I'm just going to relay all the causes for you. One is that we're doing it to ourselves with starvation diets. Some study was done on prisoners of war after World War II, where they were starved for a month, and when they got off the starvation diet, they were crazy. They turned into crazy, out-of-control eaters. They had never been out-of-control eaters in their lives, and they were all crazy with food. So maybe we're doing it to ourselves. There's another theory that, sugar has when sugar is digested, it creates a dopamine in your bloodstream, which is a kind of a relaxant, and it has the same pathways as cocaine. And there was studies done that when mice are given the choice of cocaine or sugar, they take sugar. So maybe it is a link directly to sugar. There's another cause that when you digest sugar, it creates an insulin response in your bloodstream. And insulin can cause cravings, sugar cravings, and hunger cravings, and in some cases they can be really severe feelings of hunger. I call it false hunger because it's like what happens after you eat a big Chinese meal with lots of starches and rice in it and sugary foods, and then you can't possibly be hungry, but a half hour later you're starving. That's like false hunger, and that's insulin playing a trick on you. So maybe it's the insulin. Another idea I've read more recently is that it's a genetic predisposition, that there was probably somebody in your family or your mom or your dad who had a predisposition to binge eating. I think my dad might have had a predisposition to binge eating, so I'm open to that, maybe. And of course, then there's the one that it's all because of a bumpy childhood, neglect, or some kind of trauma, and we're just filling ourselves with food to get rid of the emptiness inside. So pick your reason. It doesn't really matter because the solution is going to be the same. It's going to be to zoom in on sugar and get a grip on sugar, and either eliminate it from your diet completely or dramatically cut back on consumption of this substance and other substances that work just like it. So the first thing is we have to identify what sugar is. Sugar is actually a combination of two molecules. One molecule is glucose and the other molecule is fructose. People tend to realize that glucose is part of the equation, but they don't realize that fructose is as well. Glucose and fructose are digested differently, metabolized differently. Glucose goes into your bloodstream where an insulin response is produced to get that energy into your cells and used. And fructose goes straight to your liver where it's not really metabolized. It goes straight to the liver where it's turned into triglycerides, which are fatty cells, and they're floating around in your body. So it used to be thought that fructose was better because fructose has a lower glycemic index than glucose, so it was thought to be healthier for you, but they're both equally toxic and bad. So glucose and fructose, that's what sugar is. But all these other substances are also sugar. So this is Aunt Jemima's fake maple syrup. It's made with high fructose corn syrup. And it also is, high fructose corn syrup is another compound made with glucose and fructose. It might have a little more fructose, but still, it's a caloric sweetener. I call these sugars. Again, maple syrup is another caloric sweetener with a glucose and fructose compound. It's digested exactly the same as table sugar. People think, oh, well, this is a natural substance. Well, natural has nothing to do with it. Sugar is natural. High fructose corn syrup is natural. Natural doesn't really mean anything. It just means it comes from a plant. It doesn't have any real other benefits to you. And so it doesn't matter that maple syrup is natural. Likewise with molasses, this is another caloric sweetener that works like a sugar in your body. It says organic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's another glucose fructose compound that works just like sugar. So these are all the substances that you need to be able to identify as sugars. And here's one more I just want to show you real quick, is agave syrup. So agave has been mistaken for a health food because it has such a high percentage of fructose typically. And like I mentioned before, when the fructose is high, the glycemic index is low, so it was thought to be healthier for you. But now we know that fructose produces triglycerides, which are fatty cells, and fat is fat. So all of these things, I refer to them all collectively as sugars, or sometimes I say caloric sweeteners. You need to treat them all the same. Oh, here's one more I just wanted to share with you. Sugar in the raw. Sugar in the raw, people think they're getting something better than this kind of sugar because it's slightly less processed and there's still some brown in it, which means there's still some molasses in it. But this is exactly the same product. I'm going to read from the back of the nutrition labels. So they both have 15 calories. That's exactly the same. They both have 4 grams of sugar per teaspoon. That's exactly the same. This is the same product. Even though this is slightly less processed, it's going to work the same in your body. Don't be fooled. So if you're a binge eater, you need to zoom in on all these products: molasses, maple syrup, agave, high fructose corn syrup, table sugar, and all the other sugars that are just like it. These are all caloric sweeteners. They all are dastardly for you. And the best solution is to just get them completely out of your diet, to start looking at the nutrition labels and seeing if there's sugar in the drink or food that comes in a package. And if there is, just eliminate it. Do the experiment on yourself and see if it helps you out. If you're just trying to eat in a more healthy way and you're not really concerned about binge eating, you need to limit consumption of added sugars to 4 grams per serving. So now on the nutrition label, they have to tell you how many added sugars there are. So when you look at the back of the nutrition label of whatever food you're thinking to buy, you don't want any more added sugars than 4 grams because that's 1 teaspoon and that's all your body can handle. So if you're a binge eater, eliminate sugar completely. If you're just trying to be healthier, limit added sugars to 4 grams. Okay, so I like to say that I'm really grateful for my binge eating problem that I had to solve because it has made me enormously healthy. The elimination of sugar from my diet and just getting carb smart about eating. I mean, I am an extremely healthy person. I take no medications. I rarely get sick. And why do I think this has happened to me? This good thing has happened to me. I think it's because I'm not eating foods with a lot of caloric sweeteners in them. Because caloric sweeteners create this condition called low-grade chronic inflammation. So, number one, if you're eating a lot of foods with sugars in them, and the national trend is down about 4% because people are getting more conscious that sugar is a dastardly toxic substance. So the national trend is down, but even still, it's too high. You don't want to be having, like I said, more than 1 teaspoon per serving. 1 teaspoon is 4 grams, and at the max, 3 teaspoons per day. At the max, that's 12 grams of added sugars. That's the max. And for binge eaters or people who consider themselves food addicts, don't even have that. Have none. That's a much better choice for you. So if you're a sugar eater or a binge eater, there's a high chance that you're going to be overweight or obese because when glucose is processed, it produces insulin in your bloodstream, and insulin is the fat storage, the energy storage hormone. So you're going to have a predisposition to gain weight rather than to lose it. Also, you've got that fructose molecule, which is straight production of triglycerides, which are fat molecules. So it's going to make you more likely to be overweight or obese. Overweight is considered 20 pounds. Obese is considered 30 pounds. You know, I was certainly obese. If you're eating sugar, you have a very high risk of obesity. And if you are obese or even overweight, you have a very high risk. It's a predictor of type 2 diabetes, which is a condition where your body can't process the insulin that it's producing. Insulin is in your bloodstream and sugar is in your bloodstream because the insulin isn't working properly. The cell receptors aren't working. My little unmedical theory is that they just wear out. We wear them out because we're giving them way too much sugar that the body was never intended to handle. So, first risk is obesity or overweight. Second risk is diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And, you know, one of the things that diabetes has a lot of side effects that you don't want, but the one most people don't think about or worry about too much is that it shortens your lifespan. You know, when you're 40 and you have type 2 diabetes, you might not care. But when you're 70 and you have type 2 diabetes, you might care a whole lot because maybe you'll get 5 more years, 7 more years, 10 more years if you're not a type 2 diabetic. So those are the two big risks of eating too much sugar. The third one is what I mentioned before, low-grade chronic inflammation. It's this bodily response. It's systemic. It happens everywhere in your body. Your body thinks something is wrong. And what's wrong? It's not well understood what's causing it. It might be the excess insulin. Maybe it's excess fatty molecules. Nobody really knows for sure. what the cause is. Those are two of the predominant theories. But your body thinks something's wrong, so it's going to produce extra cholesterol to try to rectify the problem, and it's going to make you susceptible to every disease you don't want. So I'm just going to rattle them off for you. Some of the chronic diseases that are associated with low-grade chronic inflammation from excess sugar consumption, which you have direct control over. So here they are. Heart disease is the biggest. Heart disease and stroke, the excess cholesterol produced in your body to handle all that insulin and sugar. It clogs up your vessels and causes heart disease and stroke. And it doesn't just stop here at your neck. It goes up into your brain, and it's thought to also be one of the contributors to Alzheimer's or dementia. It causes depression. It causes extremes in fatigue and your energy, because your energy isn't stable. It's got highs and lows. And so, again, you can control that with your sugar consumption. Asthma has been linked to low-grade inflammation. Arthritis linked to low-grade inflammation. Autoimmune diseases to low-grade inflammation. Some cancers, especially cancers that are related to your sex organs, might be more predisposed to sugar consumption and the low-grade inflammation that comes with it. And kidney disease. So, I could go on with more, but I'm just going to stop here because those are the top 8 or 10. And you get the idea that it's not just that sugar is going to give you cavities or gum disease. It's that it's going to cause you to get overweight. It's going to make you predisposed to type 2 diabetes. And it is going to give you chronic low-grade inflammation. You don't feel bad with it, but it makes you susceptible to all the diseases I just rattled off, plus everything else that comes along, colds and flus. Your body just isn't in its prime, so you can help yourself by getting a handle on sugar. Robert Atkins, the godfather of the keto diet, he said that sugar is metabolic poison, and it is. Sugar is so bad for you. It's going to do everything you don't want. I'm really grateful I had my binge eating problem so that I am as healthy as a horse, and you can be too. You can be thin and healthy, and how good is that? It's a twofer. So I have made sugar a non-issue in my life. I invite you to consider making it a non-issue in yours. And come back if you like this content. Click that like button because it'll really help me with the YouTube algorithms. Consider buying my book. It's The Power to Stop, a 30-day program for ending any dependency or unwanted behavior. I have a link to it below and it's available on Amazon or any other bookstore. Subscribe. I put out a video every week, and if you subscribe, I'll show up on your YouTube feed. Come back. I can't wait to be with you again. Bye for now.